What the fuck was that? No, actually,
Whenever you're ready. Whenever
No,
you're
no,
ready.
you can do it. No, you can. No,
I can do
it
it.
seems like you want to be the center of fucking attention, so you do it.
All right. Welcome to episode 20 of the Perspectives Podcast. I'm Miyamoto. This is JC Nux Memes on my side. We're going to be talking about the Four Nations Faceoff that just went down that past 2 weeks, that little All-Star break. Don't you miss the All-Star game right now? USA-Canada final went down yesterday night, and it was a blast. Where did you watch that game at?
I was in my apartment. I had people over, and I was on the edge of my seat the entire time.
That seems like a fun time. I called Boston Pizza 2 hours ahead of time, and they said their bar was full. So I was gonna give up on that, and then the girl mentioned, "Oh, by the way, the restaurant is like completely dead," and I'm like, "All right, let's go there." So I watched the game in there for 4 hours. They didn't give me my food for 2 hours. Thanks. Beer was like $20, and there were a bunch of babies crying beside me after McDavid's winner. So it wasn't the best atmosphere, but we went insane. In fact, I think the only other people in the restaurant were sat right behind us with their kids, and we were like just yelling the entire time. So they probably hated us. But what a great game! I mean, you've seen the viewership numbers, correct?
Yeah, 14.4 million for Canada and 9.3 million for the USA.
That's just ridiculous. I think it said it was the most, even more than a Stanley Cup, any Stanley Cup Finals game, more than Game 7 Panthers Oilers. I think it was like 6 million in US, which is really good.
Yeah.
But that's no like, this is like passing playoff football numbers. Maybe not in the US, but overall with the Canada viewership, it's just frankly it's just been a different show. You see a lot of people who like don't know anything about hockey talking about it, like Tom Brady's and ESPN's comment section. It's just a strange phenomena.
I actually saw, you know how when you're scrolling through your Instagram feed, it shows you like some threads you might like?
Yeah.
Someone asked if, she said, I know that a bunch of the players on American teams are Canadian. Does Team USA only have Americans, or do they also have Canadians? And I don't like to hate on people for trying to learn.
It's like they
But
put the dumbest threads possible on you on there. Like
I did I got a giggle out of that one. Yeah, no Canadians were on Team USA. If anybody was wondering.
I'd be curious to know the amount of how does icing work? How much was searched up on Google? I'm guessing that's in the millions. Same as the viewership numbers.
It is pretty interesting though that this tournament is what really is like, for lack of a better term, putting hockey on the map. Like,
It is.
I mean, I talked to my high school friends about it, and they were pretty tapped into this tournament too, and they only really care about soccer, so it was pretty cool. All of high school, I spent trying to get them to watch hockey with me, and
It took some
I
Mickey
think
Mouse
we watched
tournament
the
for
one
them to
period
care.
ever.
Yep.
But yeah, no, the game was very fun. It was back and forth. I mean, Canada takes the lead first. USA gets 2. Canada gets 1 back. By the way, Sam Bennett, absolute monster.
The guy was
Very good in that
crazy.
game. First 2 periods, he played 7 minutes and had 6 shots and the game-tying goal. And then, it was a lockdown third period, and we go to overtime because, of course, it had to end in
They
overtime.
had to.
I don't know how you lose track of McDavid. I don't know what Matthews was doing all overtime.
That was legitimately the only time in the entire tournament where McDavid did not have at least 2 guys on him, and he had nobody on him. And it was just because it was a freak play kind of off the face-off. McDavid takes that immediate shot that I didn't have a great TV viewing, so I actually thought that went in. I was a little disappointed for about 5 seconds.
You're
Goes
talking
around the
about off
boards.
the face-off.
Yeah, it comes right around, back to Marner, and then McDavid's just sitting there. Frankly, I understand why there's 2 guys on Marner there, and then there's a guy in front of the net taking out the net front. But man, Matthews, I don't know too much about the structural piece of it, but that's your guy. That's your guy. Sadly, I've seen a lot of people talking about how, this is why Matthews isn't a good defensive player. He's a very good defensive player, but in that moment, ooh.
I do enjoy you talking about the fact you don't understand the structure that well, because I've seen it firsthand in sixes. You might be the worst positional player of all time. You actually are the Austin Matthews of sixes.
No.
But without any of the actual talent.
I'm the Austin Matthews of sixes. Thank you very much for that compliment.
I actually legitimately followed it up by saying without the talent.
He said
so. Maybe listen before interrupting me.
He said with.
Have you guys? Okay. Question for all the listeners right now. Have you guys noticed I can't get through a sentence without this guy?
Mommy and Daddy are
just
fighting.
talking over? Hey, look! It happened again. I can't get a word in. I can't get a whole sentence in without being interrupted. It's
What'd
crazy.
You say?
You guys are nose. Oh, do it again. Anyway, I'm watching the game in overtime, and honestly, I don't know if it got spoiled for me or not, but I was watching on, for once, a real feed.
Yeah.
Not that I commit crimes or anything.
He does.
But as I was saying, I was watching on a real feed, so I wasn't really behind at all. But obviously, there are some insiders who are actually at the game. And right before the goal, I felt my phone buzzing 3 times. I didn't check it. Because I thought, what if this is a spoiler? But I was looking way more attentively at the TV because I thought maybe this is where it ends. And then I completely, I was too happy to have checked if that was a spoiler or not, or if it was just randomly somehow I got those notifications all coincidentally right before the goal. It probably was about the goal. Either way, I didn't look at it, so I didn't know for a fact that it was coming. And I didn't expect myself to cheer that hard for a Connor McDavid goal ever.
You never will again, frankly.
We'll see. Maybe in the Olympics he has something special cooking.
That was a special player in a special moment with a special goal. It was absolute cinema. Beyond cinema, it was absolutely perfect for the McDavid narrative of Crosby passing the torch to McDavid. Although
that's stupid. McDavid also said that that's stupid because you're going to be seeing Crosby at the Olympics anyway. It's no passing of the torch. It's just
it's not like
he's
Crosby's
got his
40
now.
Yeah, and I mean, I saw someone in the comments, and this is what happens when you get a bunch of people who don't watch hockey. Maybe they watch it seasonally, or they just watch some of the playoffs, or they just loosely know what's going on because it's in their city. I saw a lot of people in the ESPN comment section talking about, oh yeah, this is now McDavid is the best player in the world. Just now, and Crosby is just now handing. That happened in 2017. That was 8 years ago.
In 2017, Crosby did win the Stanley Cup, and
he did,
McDavid didn't make playoffs, I don't think.
No, that was the 1 year that they made it prior to 2020.
The 1 year that they made it. So I don't know if it was 2017, but I get your point.
I'd say there's absolutely an argument that Crosby was still better just because of how far and how much he won in the playoffs in 16, 17, but by 17, 18, 19, McDavid absolutely is the best player at that point. But it's just the fact that he's getting recognized now, and that's why it's so big for him. He's getting recognized now on this is literally the biggest stage of hockey, even more than Game 7 of the playoffs last year, just by viewership numbers. Now everyone knows McKinnon, McDavid. They're even people who didn't watch hockey prior to even the past decade, they knew about Crosby and how good he was. Now they know about McKinnon and McDavid and how good they are. Just as an example.
The fun thing was that I had said, to my friends, also your friends, but that Matt Boldy's the kind of guy who would score in overtime because he had been playing so bad. He'd been making a bunch of mistakes. And that's kind of the guy where it's you're hating on him all game, and then he just does something special at the very end. And my theory was very, very right because McDavid was not good in regulation at all. And it's really funny that he's the guy who scored it. While I was hating on him, I was thinking there's no chance McDavid goes the entire tournament without some kind of moment. So
he already had.
I had predicted him. I predicted him to get the overtime winner, but I was also making fun of him the rest of the game because I was thinking like, oh, maybe I'll jinx him. Yeah, you never
You're
know.
playing both sides.
Yeah, either way I was fine. Like I already had a post ready for if America won, which was just a photo of McDavid that said "Bro can't win shit."
Yeah, okay, I gotta say, if he did, he needed to score that, because if the U.S. had won and he like wasn't good in that game, and I don't think he was that bad. It's just for McDavid's standard, he wasn't really doing a whole lot. Like it was kind of bouncing off his stick. It was going over his stick a lot on the boards, especially in that third period. He really needed that. It would have been absolutely horrible for his legacy to not put up any points in Game 7, even though he was good in that game. He was good in that game, and then be legitimately bad in the gold medal game. It would have been tough. It would have been tough to defend it.
Also interesting is the fact that Cale Makar had 1 point in the 3 games he played in this tournament, and it was
good.
on that winner.
Yeah.
No, he was very good though. Offensively, not as much, but like anytime he was on the ice, I felt pretty confident in Canada's abilities, mainly because I didn't feel confident in a lot of the other defensemen
I think it's
that
just
Canada
a
had.
contrast compared to the other right defenseman. Like, he was very clearly the only guy. Even though I didn't really like him, especially in the championship game. He was breaking out the puck very well and getting quick ups to McDavid and company. You know, so. And that's just a taste of the other defensemen we should have brought. Despite winning, they did not take the best roster.
Yeah, true. But before we head on to like our Olympics lineups, we have to shout out Mitch Marner. Throughout his career, he's been made fun of for not being a playoff performer, for choking when the lights are the brightest. He had 3 points in this tournament, and every single one was at an incredible moment. Obviously, overtime winner against Sweden. That was really funny. And that was the thing that set the tone for the tournament, too.
Yeah.
Then he doesn't get a point the next 2 games. He kind of gets shoved down the line a bit, but in the game yesterday, he makes a great play to Sam Bennett. I mean, I didn't see that like materializing into something like that, but Bennett was flying and Marner did well to find him. Bennett got that tying goal, and then once again in overtime, obviously it's the pass he has to make to McDavid, but he found it very, very fast. Didn't give the USA any chance to spot McDavid in the slot, and got it through his teammate's stick, Matthew's stick. I mean, he came to play, and you got to respect it, because he has not come to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs in those moments, but
Marner,
he had it going, and I've gained a new respect for Mitch Marner from that tournament.
It's great to see, and I mean, one of Matthews or Marner had to eventually come through. Technically, Matthews did actually play pretty well in the championship game. It was just maybe a little bit of a momentary lapse in defensive judgment. But Marner, like you said, he came through. Specifically, all 3 points were in like super clutch, important moments. Which, I mean, there's plenty of that to go around, considering there's only 4 games total in this, because every goal matters. But
yeah,
I mean,
but particularly the fact that it was 2 primary points on overtime winners,
Yeah.
and then one was the game-tying goal to get it to overtime in the championships.
pretty ridiculous. I think you can't get 3 more meaningful points than that.
I wouldn't say Matthews was. I wouldn't say that momentary lapse was the only thing Matthews messed up. Like, he had a very clear-cut chance in overtime and just didn't get it high enough.
Yeah.
And that's the best goal scorer in the league, and he's
Not this year.
You got to score that.
Not this year.
But Binnington, I mean,
Oh man.
everybody was hating on him for the tournament. I had something in the drafts that was a hate post towards Binnington that I never posted, because every single time I thought, oh, you know what, this might be the time to post it. He did something great, and I was defending him too. Like, even before last night's game, because like the fact he got blamed for the first loss against the USA, that was so stupid to me. It was a bad goal he gave up to Kyle Connor, but how do you blame your goalie when you score 1 goal the whole game?
I mean, sometimes it's not about what you save; it's about the goals you give up. And in Binnington's case, it was a very bad goal to give up, especially in a super important game like that. But going into the tournament, I was actually reasonably confident in him to steal a game like this, or just to have big moments, because we know he can. And he's not just one of those one-off players where he's great, or he's legit like the best goalie one year, and then after that his career fizzles out. He's still a legit number one starter, number one goalie the entire time after that cup win. Now I wouldn't say he's a top 20 goalie. Last year he was pretty good.
He's not even the best goalie on his team.
I mean, we can have that debate all day, but I mean, at this point, I don't know. I know he's not awful. He's not awful, but he is prone to obviously giving up those goals, and he makes me nervous in a Mike Smith kind of way. He should not be leaving the net sometimes, and I don't get it.
We were talking about that too. He just makes us nervous. He just falls down sometimes. He comes way out of the net. He's a goofy goalie. He's a pretty unique goalie, I'd say, too, in play style and personality. But he's been cut out for that moment before. Obviously, he's played an important game in TD Garden before, so
same building.
Maybe he has to sign with the Bruins, and then that'll unlock his true potential. Maybe.
Maybe I haven't even thought about that. Maybe they should.
Hey, Swayman was the third stringer on the runner-ups. Binnington was the first stringer on the tournament champions. So, I'm just saying. I'm just saying he might be better.
Well, I mean, I think at this point he's definitely the starter for the Olympics next year. I can't imagine he's going to have a worse year, like stat-wise in the NHL next year, because he's got like an 897, something like that. I can see him bouncing back and having a bit more confidence, especially with the win right here. I mean, that's really all. And it doesn't matter how bad he is next year. He's probably going to be the starter no matter what. But I'd like to see him get off the Blues, frankly. I'd like to see that team go for a retool, and maybe Binnington can come to the Oilers. But he's kind of the opposite goalie of Stuart Skinner, to be frank with you. Like, he has amazing lateral movement, but he just gives up some very strange goals, whereas Skinner kind of has no chance on high-danger shots, but generally saves the ones from far out are the ones that he should have. But the legacy of Jordan Binnington has grown. I mean, right now, before this, he was just kind of a one-off, and I think if he loses this game, he's probably not going anywhere in his career. But it's interesting to know.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely confirmed his spot on. I feel like he could have like an 800 save percentage next season, and he's still making the Olympic team just because of his performance specifically in overtime. That was insane, man. There were so many times they could have won. Canada wasn't getting any really good chances at all until that McDavid won. Yeah, it seemed like all of the energy was shifted for the USA, and I mean, he stood tall. He should have been the first star of that game, I would say. Obviously, it goes to McDavid for scoring the overtime winner, which is fine. Yeah, but it was Binnington. Binnington was the first star of that game.
Dude, that glove save after the flurry where he reached across and had that another glove save. I think it was on Matthews. Was that the one on Matthews? The one before the stoppage, and then they come out and he got a massive windmill glove save. The one on Matthews was the one with the blocker. I feel like you're talking about the one where he dove to the side, right? Yeah. I feel like that one was on Brady, but I don't really remember. And then he had another one off the face-off. That was a glove save where he kind of just circled it. That was ridiculous. I love a good windmill. Yeah. I love a good windmill. We haven't seen it
back to back like that was so fun to watch. I mean, I was nervous.
So for next year at the Olympics, I'm a little worried that they're going to think. I hope this is not how John Cooper thinks. They'll probably have the same management because they won from the NHL, but please do not take the same blue line. I can imagine Doughty's not going to be there just because age is a factor, and they kind of took him as a legacy pick this year because he's probably not getting another chance. We'll see on that. A healthy Doughty, maybe I'll be fine with, but Travis Sanheim and Colton Parayko cannot be at the Olympics. Oh my goodness. Please do not let it happen. That is, like, you are actually throwing. You are throwing. The USA is going to be better next year. Maybe Quinn Hughes will be healthy then. You can't throw the tournament like that. You can't. I don't want to say we were lucky, but we were lucky.
I like Sanheim more than I like Devon Taves, but obviously Taves is.
I don't like any of them.
Are we doing our Canadian Olympic team now? I only have one thing that I want to do on the forward group. I'm happy with the same forward group except for one guy, and I know exactly who I want to replace him.
I think I'd agree with that. Who would you replace on the forward group?
I don't want to see Anthony Cirelli again. I'm sick of Anthony Cirelli. 4 games, 0 points, unnoticeable on the ice. Obviously, he's a good player. He's a good NHL player. I don't want to see him on Team Canada again. He only made it because John Cooper's the coach. And who I would replace him with to fill in the defensive role while also being someone who can give offense is Robert Thomas. I want to see Robert Thomas on the team a lot.
I agree
I'm a
with
really
that.
big fan of him. I would way rather see him than Anthony Cirelli next year.
I like that.
But I'm happy with all the rest.
I would probably. It might be a bit controversial, but I wouldn't bring Stone next year. He's very clearly a little too slow for that. I mean, he's good. He's definitely a top 15 forward in Canada. For the team I want, I'd want to bring Bedard. He'll probably be there. Although after watching Jack Hughes this tournament, and they kind of have a similar physical type, it makes me a little nervous. But I think if you put him with like McKinnon or McDavid, who are a bit more dominant physically, especially McKinnon, or even Crosby, you'd probably be able to lock it down and have him be a more complementary piece in the top 6 or the top 9. Obviously, I'd replace Cirelli. I think Kyrou or Thomas is a good pick there. Thomas probably more for the play style and defensive prowess there. But yeah, not too many changes on forward. I think maybe if you're bringing in extra forward because there's 14 instead of 13 for the Olympic rosters, I'd bring Kyrou and Thomas. But besides that, I mean, people talk about Scheifele. I don't like that fit. Besides that, nobody else really sticks out to me.
I like a lot of the forwards, so I don't know who I'd want to replace, but I agree I would want to see Bedard. I don't want to get rid of Jarvis, though, and I like Konechny, and I mean, if Hegel continues to produce at the same level he's producing, I mean, he still has that grit, too. Like, that would be nice. Sam Bennett has guaranteed himself
Absolutely.
a spot on the Olympic team after the game yesterday. I mean, I would love to see that guy again. Other than that, there's only one guy who really sticks out of my head as someone I'd want to see at the Olympics, who I know. Let me just preface this by saying I know there's no way he's making the team, but I think it would be really cool to see him because I'm biased. I'm not saying Jake DeBrusk, don't worry. I would really want to see Bo Horvat, and I know that isn't happening, but Bo Horvat he PKs. He's obviously a great scorer, and he's a veteran presence now, which is kind of crazy to say because I've been watching his whole career, and I mean, I think he's turning 30 this year, and he's been a captain of a team, currently the alternate on the Islanders. So you got veteran, leadership, scoring, PKing. That is a guy who I hope at least gets like some kind of look. I don't think he's making it, though. I don't think there's any world where he makes it.
I mean, if they want to go for like the veteran two-way player, you don't go Anthony Cirelli. You go Horvat. Like, he's just obviously a better player at this point. I think Cirelli made it because he is a lightning player, but he was having a legitimately great career year. Offensively and defensively has still always been that elite presence, middle 6. But and I definitely believe you have to bring some of those kind of players on the periphery that aren't necessarily star guys, like Sam Bennett. Sometimes they just show up. They put in their piece physically. They do their work, and sometimes they just have a great rush that for some reason just goes in. You need those types of players. But I mean, you could really have any argument. Like, we're talking about, like, Konechny or Bedard or, like, Thomas. Like, there are that echelon of players kind of below the McKinnon, Crosby. Maybe even we can talk about Bedard being there next year. There's really no bad choices there. Like, I don't even have any argument there. It gets a little bit different when we go to the blue line. However, who would you be taking from this team to the Olympics?
Obviously, Taves Makar is staying as the top pairing. I feel like Thomas Harley deserves to be there. Not like Thomas Harley might be a 7th defenseman kind of guy. I want to see Mackenzie Weegar there next year, and Evan Bouchard. I wouldn't mind. Obviously, also Josh Morrissey. He was really invisible in that game, though.
I wonder why.
Thanks for the giggle.
Guy didn't even show up.
And then, who am I missing? Who am I missing on the left side?
Sanheim was there, Doughty was there, and Parayko was there.
I don't want any of them.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't mind Sanheim. I do like Sanheim.
I generally agree with those picks, but I wouldn't bring Taves. I think it's very clear he's past his prime, and I do not believe in... I kind of understand for this short of a tournament, when you've only got 3 games before the final, I'd kind of understand bringing Taves for that chemistry aspect, because, I mean, they do have legit chemistry, but you want to say something?
I'm forgetting Shea Theodore.
Shea Theodore.
I don't like Shea Theodore as a player, but I definitely think he should be there.
He probably would have been a top 4 defenseman on this group, but considering who I want to take, I wouldn't take him. I think Weegar, Harley, and Morrissey are all better, and at that point, he's the 7th defenseman. I wouldn't bring him. I obviously wouldn't bring Pietrangelo
you have so many
either.
Righties. Wait. If you don't want Taves, then you have Morrissey.
On the left side, I would have the top pair be Weegar, Makar, and then I'd have the second pair be Morrissey, Bouchard, and then I'd have Harley and Dobson, and then the 7th defenseman would be, I don't know, you can bring anyone. But those 6, I think they need to be there. They need to be there. Harley's a late addition. I didn't really have him. I knew he was good. I knew he's a top 25 defenseman. I didn't have him too much on my radar for Team Canada, though. So he's definitely broken out a lot.
A guy who I think deserves a look, especially after seeing how amazing Jacob Slavin played yesterday, is Chris Tanev. I mean, like Tanev and Slavin are probably the top 2 defensive defensemen in the league right now, I would say. And Slavin saved the game for the Americans at points. Yeah. And Tanev might be the kind of guy that you want on if you're like holding a lead late in the game, because you have great players who can hold the lead, but you don't have anyone who specializes in that like Tanev. So I want Tanev to get a look. I don't know if they'll bring him, but I really do like Chris Tanev a lot.
I'd certainly understand if they brought him over. If they felt like they had too many offensive guys. Now, obviously, Tanev isn't better than Dobson or Bouchard, but I'd understand if they didn't bring one of those 2 guys, or even like a Shea Theodore, because I'd assume he's on their radar for next year. And I know they wouldn't bring the blue line I'm suggesting. They just wouldn't do it. They would bring Taves, like you said before, because they probably believe in that chemistry and the fact that he's still an elite defenseman, even though that's debatable. He had a pretty... You can see he's kind of fallen off from that 22 Avs team where he was legitimately like a top 10 defenseman. He was great. Not as much anymore, of course.
No, he's bad.
Bad? Well, you could say he's bad. Compared to these guys, he actually played really bad. But Sanheim pissed me off so much. Oh my goodness. He sucks.
I'm a big fan of Travis Sanheim. I don't think Devon Taves actually sucks, but I don't think he's like there are definitely a lot better defensemen for Canada, but they're going to bring him, and that's fine because he at least works with Makar well.
Like I understand why they take him. It's not the biggest deal. It's certainly not as bad as bringing Parayko or Sanheim.
Well, I feel like Parayko is gonna make it again. I feel like they want that big body veteran guy.
The thing is, like you just said, Tana, if you want to bring an especially defensive player, bring one that's actually good defensively and can actually move the puck up.
That big of a boy.
But it's so stupid that I hate the manager. It's not about the size. It's about, are they at least 6 foot? Are they at least 6 foot and they can play defense?
Height. That's the Isaiah Thomas doctrine. Hard over height, baby. Okay, let's go to the goalies. I think it's pretty obvious. We don't need to spend much time here. I'll give my 3, and you can tell me if you want anybody. Don't say Stuart Skinner. If you say Stuart Skinner, I'll leave the fucking Discord call right now. It's Jordan Binnington, Logan Thompson, Aiden Hill. Sorry, Sam Montembeau, but I'd rather have Logan Thompson than you. I think that's easy.
Well,
unless someone has like some crazy run at the start of next season. When did they even make the Olympic picks?
I think they got to lock it in by like early December. So same as
if someone has like a crazy run at the start of the season where they're like competing with Connor Hellebuck, then maybe they can make it over Aiden Hill. But I think Binnington and Thompson are like got to be there.
I think Okay, I don't want to say Stuart Skinner because I know I know he's not one of the 3 best goalies. And either way, like no matter what's happening, Binnington is your starter. I don't care if Stuart Skinner has a 930 in the. Okay, well if he has a 930 in a 16-0 playoff run, he's probably the starter. But I have a theory: if Skinner wins a cup this year and he doesn't get chased like he did last year, and Pickard like kind of comes in and steals the show for a series or two, he just left. He just left the call. Is he coming back? Oh, there he is. Welcome back. Well, as it stands right now, he wouldn't be in my top 5 picks. But if that happened, we know how they are with the stupid cup legacy stuff. I think they'd take him. I wouldn't choose it, but I think they would take him.
I think Mackenzie Blackwood also has an argument to make it.
He would be my number 2. He would be my backup next year, and then I'd have Logan Thompson.
Over
assuming
Thompson?
he does this again. Well, yeah, because, I mean, Logan Thompson's only done this for a year and a half. Mackenzie Blackwood has been a starter in the past, albeit a while ago, but still. I feel like he has a better track record.
Yeah, I guess we'll see if Thompson... If Thompson's just like a one-year wonder, but I don't think he is. I think he's still... It's definitely Thompson, too.
He'll be legit.
But Binnington has given himself that starter role, which is really funny, because he got so much hate throughout the tournament.
People were doubting him. I mean, I was there, too.
I was concerned, but I definitely... I was defending him. I thought he played well in all 3 games. Like, there could have been more saves from him, but there also could have been a lot less saves from him. And that final game was incredible from him.
I think just generally with hockey fans, they don't like to see those absolutely horrible moments. Like you see how much hate Matthews is getting for a pretty simple, like average defensive lapse. Like nothing horrible. Like he didn't fall over and pick the wrong guy. He just didn't take the right guy. And in a game where Binnington gave up 2 goals, he is being hated on. He had like a 900 save percentage that game. Like he wasn't the reason we lost. We scored 1 goal. So, I mean, personally, I was just kind of piling on him because it's funny. That post got like 5,000 likes, so obviously people liked it. But
it is quite funny.
I mean, even up to that championship game, he wasn't bad. It was very clear Hellebuck was the better goalie, and he wasn't in the end, thankfully. Hellebuck chokes again. People haven't talked about that enough. Hellebuck, that goal on McDavid, obviously he's in front, is just picking a corner. That's not a horrible goal to give up. But the one to McKinnon, I know he was screened, but...
Yeah, it was a screened play. I don't think you can blame Hellebuck for any goals. I don't think Hellebuck choked here. I think he played well. He just got shockingly out-goalied, which is really, really funny.
Yeah. I mean...
But yeah, no, it wasn't Hellebuck's fault. It was a screenshot. It doesn't really matter how weak of a shot it was from McKinnon when you can't see the puck. It was just a great placement. Yeah. And the Bennett one also is not Hellebuck's fault. It was Bennett in all alone on him. So
and we think about how much the Swedish and Finnish goalies were hyped up going into this tournament, only for Jordan Binnington, who everybody was clowning the Canadian goaltending going into this. And frankly, it wasn't Hellebuck level the entire tournament, but that ends up winning.
Yeah, but shout out Sam Ersson for randomly having the best goalie game of the tournament. That was funny.
Yeah, that was a great one.
32 of 33.
So, thinking about the tournament as a whole, what do you think was who do you think was the biggest disappointment? Maybe just from Canada, we'll say.
Okay, because obviously the most disappointing player for me was Elias Pettersson. And then for the tournament as a whole, it was probably Jack Hughes. But for Canada, I mean, the big guys really stepped up.
Yeah.
I feel like I wanted something from Anthony Strelli at some point, but like, I don't think it was. It could have been Stone, honestly.
Maybe.
But I don't think anybody was really an outright disappointment. I don't think anybody let down expectations on Team Canada that much. I think they all did either what was expected out of them or a little bit more or a little bit less.
Yeah, like any of the players that I thought played bad, like on the blue line, yeah, it was pretty obvious they were not going to play. Like breaking news, Doughty off of surgery, like doesn't play extremely well. He's only played for 2 weeks, and apparently he's not ready for international hockey. Like That was expected. Stone, maybe. But I mean, again, like I don't think he played bad, and I don't think that's what you're saying. But I'd probably say Makar, and maybe that's because he was injured, but he just wasn't really a world changer at all. People before the tournament were putting him up in that echelon of like, oh, you've got McKinnon, you've got McDavid, you've got Crosby, and you've got Makar. Like, game is amazing, and he had an assist on the game-winning, the championship-winning goal, but he was legitimately he didn't really control play.
I think he did. I feel like, I mean, it was just a confidence thing. Like, anytime he had the puck, I feel like Canada was in a good spot.
Well, he was better than any other option on the blue line. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't think he was a disappointment. I still think he did his part, and I am happy he only got 1 point in the 3 games because it really fuels my narrative, but I don't think he was a disappointment. Also, speaking of that narrative, it was really sad to see Zach Werenski absolutely kill it because he was in the role that Quinn Hughes would have been in. Like, Quinn Hughes could have been the leading point getter in that tournament, but it was... I mean, fair play to Zach Werenski. He's having a great season. He had a great tournament, but it was a little bit depressing to not get to see Quinn in that spot.
That would be pretty sad. I gotta see Werenski get hard votes. I'd be completely fine if he ended up like if he took McDavid's heart spot. Honestly, that he would usually get. Like right now, who is it? It's McKinnon, Hughes, Draisaitl, and then you'd have Werenski at the 4 spot. So I don't
even think it's Hughes anymore.
Yeah, because he missed some games. But
he's now missed the past 4 Canucks games, and they're 3-0-1 in that time.
I imagine because he's getting more airtime on international hockey, just league-wide, outside of Winnipeg, Hellebuck probably secures the Hart nomination, which, I mean, he should. It's just the fact that people have seen how good he is now. Even though he didn't win, people, especially in that the first Canada-USA game, I think people have seen how good he is now. How did we get here? What was I talking about?
A Hart.
What was I talking about the Hart? How did I get here?
You were saying like Werenski deserves to be in the Hart conversation.
Oh yeah. Well, would that be your biggest like surprise performance really? Because I think you could make the argument he was like a
season
of the tournament.
No, like Werenski was in a very good role in that team, and he's a great player. I'm not surprised that he ended up with 6 assists. I don't know who would have been my biggest surprise. Mikhail Granlund showed out. I mean, he was the only non-Canadian or American in that top 10 of points. I love Mikhail Granlund, so I wasn't surprised by it, but I was really happy that he did that. I think he's one of my top 3 favorite non-Canucks in the league. So that was pretty cool to see. I don't know if I was surprised by anyone's play, honestly. I mean, Sam Bennett surprised me with his play yesterday, but not for the whole tournament. So I
think it's got to be Thomas Harley. Just considering the circumstances as well as actually how well he played. Like, he was probably Canada's 3rd best defenseman, and he wasn't on the roster. He wasn't even on, like, probably the lookout. He probably was just the only guy that was available and wasn't on vacation in, like, Mexico or something and was available to catch a flight and get there.
You know, I am actually surprised at how well Brady Tkachuk played with an actual team around him. I mean, he was everywhere. He was on fire. I was pretty pumped up watching him, and I don't like him, and I don't like America. But he definitely showed out. I can't believe like he was arguably the best player on Team USA all around. So that did surprise me a little bit.
You know, for disappointments, I'm gonna say Adam Fox, 0 points definitely. In 4 games, and he had a legit role on that team. It wasn't just Werenski soaking up like 50 minutes a night, taking all the points. Fox was like bad. All of the Rangers were bad, frankly, which is, I mean, you love to see it. But Fox especially, he's supposed to be he's supposed to be the Rangers' best player by far and like a legit top 3 defenseman. In the regular season, we've seen it, but not in that tournament. Not at all. It was really bad.
No, I think, he's still going to make the Olympic team, but the 3 other Rangers on forward might have cost themselves a a spot. And I
And
mean,
the
Kreider
Islander.
did score. There was a Kreider goal at one point against Sweden, I think, right?
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe he still makes it, but they shouldn't have been there anyway. Like,
No.
how do you have Miller deserved it, but how do you have
played
Kreider
like
or
buns.
Trocheck over Tage Thompson and Jason Robertson? Like, what happened there? And that scares me because like USA could have had way better choices too.
Yeah.
This could have been a way more fun turn. Well, I don't think it could have been a more fun tournament, but it could have been more stacked.
It could have been more stacked for sure.
If both Canada and USA brought the best guys, and next year I don't think Canada's going to be able to avoid seeing Tage or J-Rob. So
No,
it's going to be interesting.
There's no way. I mean, Kreider, if he has like a resurgence, maybe like another 40-goal campaign, maybe. Obviously, he'd only be on the way to a 40-goal type thing. But if he gets like 20 goals in the first 30 games, well, first of all, it's not happening. I could see it. They picked him for a reason, and he obviously he didn't show up that well, but they obviously want a guy specifically for the role he has, and they're not going to change their philosophy. Even though they lost, they're probably not going to change their philosophy right at that and immediately pivot to like a Jason Robertson or Tage Thompson. I think if those two make it, it'll be over other bigger skill guys. Like you might see Jack Hughes come out because of how awful he was, which is not fair because he's like a legit top 5, not top 5 player, but like a top 10 player. I could see it happening. I could see him being a snub for like a Tage Thompson next year, but maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves there.
Keep talking. I have to turn on my lamp.
All right. So they're talking about a World Cup for, I think it's 2028. And they said it would be I believe what they said is it will be at least 8. Is what Bill Daly said. Do you think? So first of all, how would you format that? And how many teams would you bring at all? Like, are we going to like 20 teams for a true World Cup, or is that too many?
That is way too many.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't bring 20.
Just get Kazakhstan in there to get sauced and tossed.
They would be like,
actually, yeah. Show me Kazakhstan versus the Canadian men's team,
please. Who's even? Is there even
let's see.
any Kazakh? I think there's Kaliev, and that's it.
There's the one guy who was the World Junior starter is Sens prospect.
No, that's right. And he's a pretty good. I think he's a college
He's decent.
goalie right now. But I'd like to see 16 and just go single elimination, no round robin, no preliminary games. Just go by IIHF rankings from the year before, and just have 1 versus 16, 2 versus 15 go on, and just play single elimination. That would be 4 games in total, the same as this one. So it would probably be the same length for 2028. And I mean, you'd see like Great Britain. You wouldn't end up seeing like a Japan, but you'd see a Kazakhstan, a Latvia. Those games, I just think if you want to make an actual World Cup, it can't just be 8 teams. You have to see some teams on the peripheries that are going to get blown up. But I don't know. There's a lot of directions they could go and have like a Slovenia, have not a Serbia, but they could have a Belarus. If I'm assuming they'd be allowed, Russia and Belarus will be back in. But at that point, if they want to have a real World Cup, I'd imagine.
Okay, we'll see. I mean, it would be cool to see a Russian team again because they'd definitely be a championship contender in that, along with Canada and USA. But I don't know if this is all going to get sorted out in that time. I guess we're not going to get too political here. If we were to get political, though, we would be making those 11th province jokes and making fun of a certain orange man.
Well, you blew it now. You blew it now.
I did blow it now.
I'm not sure how many American viewers we have anyways.
No, but also, like, I mean, they did start it. They started it. So I don't really care.
Well, finish it. I'll finish it.
Yeah.
So, is that all we have to talk about?
I think so. I mean, I didn't.
We went for 45 minutes.
I don't think we need to really go with that in depth on the World Cup.
No.
That's 3 years away.
We'll see
But I am looking forward to the Olympics. I'm happy that we have the next year of bragging rights at least. I do find it really funny that the Americans were getting so into this tournament and like shit talking us after Saturday, and now I see fuck ass Barstool Sports calling it an all-star game on repeat in their clips. That is so funny to me. They're so salty, blaming the refs for an icing. Holy fuck, are you Kyler Minamoto? Oh my goodness.
No, I saw the crowd getting mad at that icing, and I'm like, you just can tell that the crowd has never watched hockey. Because not only was that a tie...
I'm not even just talking about the crowd. I'm talking about people in my comments and DMs saying that the refs blew it on an icing call.
No.
Come on,
I mean, dude, no, that is never an icing in NHL hockey. It wasn't even a tie. And if it was a tie, they give it to the defender. So, people don't know how that works. But
no,
I think we're all good on Four Nations for now. That was, I mean, I remember recording that podcast 2 weeks ago, and I was wondering if it was going to be entertaining at all. And that was like one of the best hockey experiences I've ever had, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I was a strong doubter from that first episode we did where we made our like preview teams. I was a doubter in that episode. I was like, do you guys actually really care about this? And even in that episode a couple weeks ago, I was like, do we think this is real? But I was kind of warming up to it a little bit. And from puck drop of the first game, seeing that it was actually high-paced, high-energy hockey, I had faith in the tournament from there, and it really delivered. I mean, I don't know what more we could have asked for. Hockey got on the front page of everything.
Yep.
It got all over ESPN for the first time ever. The Bleacher Report video of the three fights got 600,000 likes, and I mean, it got people talking. It's the most viewed hockey game in America, and 14.4 million in Canada.
Yeah.
Plus the illegal streams that we're not even knowing about.
Didn't even count about that.
At the end of the day, like, hockey was the big winner, and hopefully that gets a lot more people into hockey. I mean, we saw Flight Reacts reacting to
that's how you know it's big. That's how you know it's big.
We're hitting a different demographic now. It's pretty cool. Maybe this will blow up the Pacific Perspectives podcast.
Maybe it will. You never know. Although all those new viewers have something to listen to now.
I think those are my closing thoughts, if you want to give any.
Yeah, I mean, you said it pretty well. This is not only is this a win for Canada, it's a win for... I mean, I know America lost, but just the amount of fans that this is going to bring in for USA Hockey... I'd say you probably made lifelong fans out of like 10% of everyone who watched. So that's like 1 million new paying customers. So it'll be interesting to see how this ends up growing the game and how many people can like reach back into their memory and say this is what got them into hockey. Like, think of how many Canadians said that the Golden Goal Crosby 2010 Winter Olympics was what got them into hockey. It wasn't necessarily the NHL team with them at all. It was they ended up enjoying hockey because of a huge moment like that for their country, which they're already going to cheer for no matter what. And then they realize they have NHL hockey in their city, and they go from there. So it's I can imagine that it will be a very similar kind of success story all across the board for most of the countries involved. Sweden and Finland were just kind of there.
It's pretty crazy how in a month and a half, the NHL went from the marketing disaster class that was the Winter Classic, this marketing masterclass of the Four Nations tournament. I mean, this is the greatest marketing I think the NHL has ever done. And yeah, so good work, League. Good work, Bettman.
They are dominating the NBA right now. Like, it's, I mean, considering that All-Star game was a little bit of a joke from what I've heard, and they had this going on, you beat the NBA. That's a start. That's a start.
NBA tried to switch up their game when the real solution is to just eliminate it and do something entirely different.
How do you even go back to an All-Star game after this?
You can't. I don't think I ever want to see an NHL All-Star game ever again. I'd rather just have a 2-week break than see an All-Star game.
I mean, I think the best part that comes out of the All-Star game is having all those players kind of in the same vicinity and hanging out, and like there's social media videos that come out with it. I don't think anyone except for children really care about the game. I think that 2 years ago, the one that made me a lot of money was betting on the like skills competition, and that made me enjoy it a little bit more. But if I don't have like a real stake in it, like money wise, betting wise, I never really cared unless I was like a 10-year-old child and I want to see my favorite little player go to the All-Star game. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, it stopped mattering when they ruined the breakaway challenge and made it like cringe instead of fun and goofy.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've been trying to wrap up this episode for the past 5 minutes. Like, bro, just ended already. So
quit yapping.
You wanna say the final sentence and then wish our viewers a nice 9 days before we record again?
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a while, isn't it? Yeah, because we're skipping it. I mean, we're gonna have a lot of hockey to talk about. We're gonna see. And there's, you know what? I think there's Binnington versus Hellbuck tomorrow, isn't there? Because it's Blues versus Jets. Or is that on Sunday?
I haven't looked at the schedule. I just know we play Vegas.
That'll be an interesting game. The Oilers play Philly, and then we play. Oh man, I haven't even opened the NHL. We play Philly, and then we play Washington. Both 11 a.m. back-to-backs. Matthew Savoy is going to be making his debut, probably against the Caps. That will be interesting. That will be what I'm looking for at this point. Because at this point in Oilers hockey, you're just focusing in on certain players. You know you're probably going to win the division. Canucks, I imagine for you it'll be a lot more intense because you basically need to win 70% of your games at this point. Unless Calgary completely tanks, which might happen, but it'll probably be an exciting last third of the regular season for you, right?
I feel like I'm being held hostage in this episode right now.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, you know what? That'll do it for this episode. We went for a lot longer than I thought we would. I think this one's going to end up being an hour. But
end it! Oh my god!
Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. That was episode 20. We will see you all next time.